The evening was calm. My dad was reading the newspaper while I was sprawled on the couch, half engrossed in a book, half in the peaceful ambiance of our home. The tranquility was abruptly shattered by the sharp ring of the doorbell. It was an unexpected intrusion, a rarity at this hour. My dad, with a puzzled look, folded his newspaper and rose from his chair. "I'll get it," he said. I watched him walk towards the door. From my vantage point in the living room, I could see the front door open, revealing the silhouette of a man standing outside. The fading light cast shadows across his face, making it hard to discern his features, but the anger in his posture was unmistakable. Curiosity got the better of me, and I inched closer, straining to catch snippets of their exchange. The man's voice was laced with bitterness, every word tinged with an emotion so raw it sent shivers down my spine. It was one sentence, however, that cut through the evening air like a knife, reaching me with crystal clarity. "I lost my only brother because of you." My heart raced, and a cold dread settled in the pit of my stomach. I had always sensed there were chapters of my dad's life that remained closed. But this accusation was a jolt, a stark revelation that hinted at a past far darker and more complex than anything I had ever imagined. I don't know if anyone will ever believe my story, but every word of it is true, as much as I sometimes wish it wasn't. I'm 18 and still under the same roof as my parents, navigating the tricky waters of late adolescence. With my mom, there's a warmth and a lightness. She's always been the emotional compass of our family. Yet it's with my dad that I find a different kind of closeness, one that's less about words and more about the unspoken understanding that seems to flow effortlessly between us. But there's always been this subtle undercurrent of mystery surrounding him. It's like a faint, almost imperceptible shadow that occasionally crosses his face when he thinks no one is watching, or the slight hesitation before he answers certain questions about his past. My mom, the heart and soul of our home, also seems to tread carefully around the edges of my dad's past. There's a subtle but noticeable way she aids in steering conversations away from sensitive territories, her glances at my dad laced with an unspoken understanding. I've always known, in a vague, unspoken way, that there was someone before my mom in his life. He was married to another woman, a shadow of a previous chapter, hinted at in passing comments or seen in the rare old photograph tucked away in a drawer. But beyond the basic fact of her existence, details about this woman and the reasons their paths diverged have remained elusive. Questions about how he moved from a previous spouse to building a life with my mom are met with gentle deflections or changes in conversation, leaving me with little but my imagination to fill in the blanks. But the day has come. The air was heavy with anticipation as my dad stepped back into the house after his long conversation with the stranger. The look on his face was one I'd seen only a few times before. He closed the door gently behind him, as if to seal us off from the rest of the world, to create a space where truth could unfold undisturbed. He knew immediately from the look on my face that I have overheard their conversation. Without a word, he took my hand, a gesture so filled with purpose that it immediately quieted the room around us. We sat together. "I'll explain everything now," he began. "I don't know how you will feel about me after this. Just know that I love you no matter what." The simplicity and sincerity in his declaration cut through any apprehension I might have felt. As we sat there, the world outside our conversation seemed to fade into the background. My life before you, before your mom, was a different existence. I was married to another woman, my high school sweetheart. We were young, in love, and naive enough to believe that was all we needed to make it through. For years, it seemed like we were right. We had a stable, happy marriage. But life has a way of testing us in ways we never expect. My job started to demand more from me. taking me out of town for days, sometimes weeks on end. It was hard on both of us, but we tried to make it work, clinging to the love that had brought us together in the first place. Then, one trip home changed everything. I returned earlier than expected as I turned my car into the driveway, buoyed by the thought of surprising her. But the surprise was mine alone. As I walked into our home, our sanctuary, the warmth of anticipation turned to ice in my veins. The woman I had pledged my life to, entwined with a stranger in the bed we shared. In that moment, something inside me broke. I was blinded by a mix of pain, betrayal, and an anger so intense it felt foreign. Propelled by a force I neither recognized nor could control, my hands found the gun, a grim instrument of my anguish, its cold metal a stark contrast to the fire burning inside me. The details of what happened next are a blur, a rush of emotions and actions that I can't fully piece together. The sound of my own heartbeat thundered in my ears. The air was rent with shouts, pleas, the deafening roar of the gun, and then an eerie silence. All I know is that when clarity returned, I was in a police station, handcuffed, being told I had killed a man and wounded the woman I had loved. Hearing the words, seeing the evidence laid out before me, it was like waking up to a nightmare. I was sentenced to 10 years in prison, a stark, cold reality that seemed impossible. Me, in prison. I had never been in trouble with the law, always lived my life trying to do right by those around me. Yet there I was, because in a moment of blind rage and heartbreak, I let love and anger dictate my actions. Within the confines of that prison, I encountered the one person who would change the trajectory of my life forever, the prison minister. Initially, our interactions were part of a larger group setting where she offered spiritual guidance and support to any of the inmates willing to listen. However, there was an undeniable connection from the very start. As time passed, our encounters became more frequent and personal. She saw something in me that perhaps I had lost sight of myself. It wasn't long before our relationship deepened, evolving beyond the mentor-mentee dynamic. She began to visit me privately, under the guise of conjugal visits, a controversial decision that pushed the boundaries of her professional commitments. My behavior in prison reflected this newfound hope, earning me an early release after just 4 years, a testament to the transformative power of her faith in me. Walking out of those prison gates, I carried with me not just the lessons learned from my time served, but a heart full of love for the woman who had stood by me through it all. I proposed to her shortly after my release, a proposal she accepted with tears of joy and hope for a shared future. And now, as I sit here sharing this story with you, it's important for you to know that the prison minister, the woman who changed my life, who saw beyond my past and believed in the person I could become, is your mother. Our love story, born within the confines of a place that symbolizes despair for many, became a beacon of hope for us. You, my child, are the living embodiment of that love and redemption. A love that defied the odds and flourished in the face of adversity. Listening to him, the pieces of a puzzle I didn't even know I was assembling fell into place with a clarity that was both shocking and illuminating. That day I realized, my dad is a murderer, my mom was the minister, and I am the product of a conjugal visit. And the man who had come to our door that night was the brother of the man my dad had killed.